a lot of people who were left-wing belonged to the anti-Nazi League.
Right.
In fact, I've still got a T-shirt from those days. And so anyone who was politically left quite often would belong to the anti-Nazi League. So it was Nazi in some form. I don't know whether it would be BNP or National Front. It was probably the National Front in those days, because the British National Party have come more to the fore since those days. So so there was some kind of underlying thing going on, because there'll always be left and right, I'm sure. And I was living in Deptford, or maybe in Blackheath at the time. There was a big National Front march, and I was working in the library in Lewisham Way. Everything was closed down because...
So you boarded up the library just in case?
Everything was closed because people were so scared that, I don't know, the windows would be smashed and people would run in the buildings or anything might happen. So it was a very kind of frightening time, because New Cross and Deptford and all those places, I suppose, generally had a lot of left-wing or socialist people living there. A lot of students, a lot of kind of working class people. And so when this march was allowed to take place, everyone was quite worried, but also you kind of got really excited because you wanted to show how much against it you were. So I remember the day it happened. I was working at the library that day, and the library faces onto Lewisham Way, and the Lewisham Way is the main road where the march came past. So all the shops boarded up their windows because they thought there was going to be trouble, and there was a lot of trouble. And the march came past, and everybody who was out there against it was jeering at the marchers. And I remember that my parents, who were living in Belmont Hill in Lewisham at the time, the march must have gone on to Lewisham, but there were loads of police protecting the marchers and also protecting everyone, I suppose, both sides. And I remember my parents telling me that the police, at some point during the march, had come up Belmont Hill on their police horses, because there were a lot of them on police horses, and they were trampling in people's front gardens, these police horses. They just had police horses running in people's front gardens and trampling over everything. I mean, it's quite chaotic. And it was, it's a very frightening time, because you had a real sense of fear and anger about the place on that day. Obviously there was a lot of opposition to it being allowed to go through this area, because it was, there weren't many people supporting that party anywhere really.
Right, yeah.
So it was a scary time.
They must have gotten slaughtered when they came through here.
Well, they would have done, but the police were protecting them.
Not slaughtered, but I mean, like verbally.
Oh yes.
Just kind of people going crazy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It was kind of, I can feel goosebumps now thinking about it, because it was frightening, and it was horrible actually, seeing all these people who supported the Nazi. Sorry, the National Front. And just seeing them, because seeing the anger on their faces.
Cheering along.
Or jeering and chanting, I can't remember what now, but it's always frightening when you see a big group of people so opposed to what you believe in, and in an area where a lot of people don't really support what they believed in. So
what did they think they were going to achieve?
I don't know. Well, it's a bit like what happens in Ireland, because the Orange Men in Ireland, it's like in Northern Ireland they've got people who are like Republicans, who were the original indigenous population of the north, of the whole of Ireland. And then you've got the Unionists, who believe that they are part of Britain and they want to be British.
Right, okay, yes.
And every year in July, the Orange Men, who believe themselves to be British and think Ireland, that part of Ireland, should be British, march through all these areas, very contentious areas, where Catholics live, and the Unionists are Protestants, and these marches are allowed to go ahead. I've never understood, these things just happen, you don't really understand why, but it causes so much anger and resentment. I think the basis of letting people march through any areas, because maybe in Britain you're supposed to have this sense of justice and people have the right to do things.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. So regardless of what it makes people feel, I think that was the basis on which they let the National Front march through New Cross and Deptford.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Crazy though.
That's why they needed so much protection from the police.
Did anything happen? Like, was there any violence or anything?
I don't recall. I mean, there was. I would surmise that there was some fights or things happened.
Yeah.
But I don't really recall. It was quite a long time ago now.